Sound check, 1, 2.
This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
And he knows as soon as he gives it to her, he's gonna give her his heart to her too.
And we'll have kids and get married.
That's too far.
Holy shit.
It is the 24th of August, 2021. My name is Corey Winfield. And Marnie not able to make the podcast tonight. She'll be back on Thursday. Today was a very, very hard day for me in my recovery. I had bad news, and I would tell you more about it, but it involves other people, so I'm not going to put their stuff on Front Street, you know. But it was a very difficult situation for me. It's a situation that men go through a lot more than what's talked about. I don't think any of my friends or anybody I know has ever come up to me and been like, hey, Corey, this happened to me. Not one. And I will talk about it more in detail in the future, just because I think it will help other people. You know, there's a reason why I go through the things I go through, and there's a reason why I do the podcast. First, it's like therapy for myself, which thank goodness I do have an appointment scheduled tomorrow with my therapist. And that's something that I would recommend everybody in early recovery do. Now, it takes a while to find that one that you can trust, that one that you can click with. And it's not personal. If you show up and you're not clicking with the person, just say, look, man, I'm going to try somebody else. It's not personal. You know, your recovery should come first. Often, myself, I would keep going to these therapists, keep going to it, and it just pleases everybody else, but I wasn't getting anything out of it. And that's where you got to be selfish with it. And if you've heard the saying, you know, this is a selfish program, it's because it is, you know, in areas like that. You know, you got to take your recovery, your sobriety, you got to put that ahead of everybody else and everybody else's feelings, all of that. Doesn't matter. Your recovery, you being sober is what comes first. People can say, oh man, John, he's a dick. Well, that's their opinion. The only thing you can do to change it is not be a dick, but that's on you to do that. So anyway, today though, it was very difficult. I found myself trying to avoid the situation that had happened, which was unavoidable. I tried to just think, oh, I'll bury myself in work. I'll distract myself from it. And those, in my opinion, were bad habits. Those were old habits. That's how the old me would have confronted problems. And as I tried to do that, tried to run from the problem, try to distract myself from the problem, it felt like it just kept weighing on me deeper and deeper and harder until I couldn't run anymore. And that's when I went and I faced the problem. You know, it was something that I felt, and many men probably feel the same way, is that we're supposed to be the strong one. You know, we're not supposed to be too emotional. We're not supposed to cry. We're supposed to, you know, lead by example. And I just couldn't anymore. I mean, it was probably 3 hours later where I finally just broke down, and that was okay. And yeah, I felt vulnerable, but I also felt real. And I felt like I had to do that. And I had to cry. I had to feel sad, because that's normal. That's a normal feeling. And I never had to think about going to the liquor store. I never had to think about smoking weed. I never had to think about, you know, none of that. I just cried. And like I said, I'll talk more into detail about the situation, but it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. And it's not the first time either. So I don't know. Will it happen again? I don't know. You know, I pray about it. I pray that it doesn't. But it's one of those things that I can't control the outcome of it. So I can't beat myself up over it. I can't say, God, why did you do that to me? I can't do that either. That's not going to help me. You know, I just have to accept that, okay, this happened. This is, in my opinion, bad. But times in the past, like I said, this isn't the first time this happened, that this has happened. Looking back, it was all for a reason. I just couldn't see it at that time. Just like right now, I probably can't understand or see the reason. But there's a reason that it happened, and I just have to accept that. It's not my job to figure out why or how. It's nothing that I did. It's nothing anybody did. So I just have to pick myself up, feel the sad emotions, you know, shed some tears, and move on. But it just scares me that my first kind of reaction, and just that, I guess, because I wanted to be the strong one, but it scares me that my first reaction was to go and be distracted. You know, I remember when I moved back to Michigan back in 2015, I was working at the radio station in Benton Harbor, and I would just throw myself into work. I was doing the morning show, but I would get there at like 5, and I would stay till 7 p.m. just to distract myself from what was really going on and the real problems. And that just led to more problems and severe depression, because I was never facing anything. I was never wanting to feel it. I was running around just trying to stay busy, acting like everything was A-okay. And in the inside, I was just dying. And when I realized that depression, and this is how stupid I was back then, when I realized depression could hit men too, I was like, what? Yeah, it was, seems like 100 years ago. But that was an eye-opener, and wondering why I couldn't get out of bed, why I wanted to just crawl in a hole and die. And then, after I couldn't take any more of that, I picked up what I thought was my old friend, which we all know is not our old friend. And that made problems 8 times worse. That's the thing about alcohol. Like, it doesn't make you fly. It doesn't make you see through walls. It doesn't help you in any way. When I was younger, I used to, oh man, and you probably had this experience too. Oh man, it helps me kind of relax. And, you know, when I go out and go to parties or something, man, it makes me, I can be able to talk to people. And I was like that on the radio, you know, and have a couple beers, but like, man, I could talk, and I'm so much better on the radio. I'm not nervous. And then it takes over. And then you have this false sense of like good. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. You know what I'm saying, but it's just like this falseness, because it's not real. But I just am glad that, even though it took a few hours, that I was able to kind of hone in on the feeling and realize that I have to face it. I have to feel it. And then that it's okay to cry. So, I don't know. I'm not going to go too much longer tonight. So I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I just had to do a check-in and kind of tell you a little bit about my day and the things that I'm going through. There'll be more to come on this in the future. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.
Thanks for listening to the 217 Recovery Podcast. For more episodes plus bonus features, download the 217 Recovery app and support recovery by rating us in the App Store.